All right, dads, welcome to episode 9 of the Warrior Dad podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Wickersham, creator of the Warrior Dad Experience, and I'm pumped and excited to talk about this topic today because it is so important when we intentionally parent and when we think about the future, the vision that we might have for our kids. And if you're not thinking about the future, the vision for your kids, you definitely need to start that process, right? You need to start to think about, hey, how do I want to guide? How do I want to develop? Be that beacon of hope, positive change for our children so they can be the best version of themselves. So they can step in to that truly amazing individual that he or she is. And today's topic is about, are you raising a leader or a follower? And I might curse a little bit because I'm so passionate about it. So if your kids are listening with you in the car, you might want to turn it off if you don't want some language. Great question to ask yourself. Are you raising a leader or a follower? And I'll share my examples because this is how I've raised my two sons, and they're now 15 and 13-year-old boys. One thing I've consistently said, and you can use this as you raise your children, when they see the pack going one way, when they see the herd going one way, that's a sign, that's a signal that they should go the other way. Leaders don't follow the herd. Leaders don't follow the pack. When there's a path in the forest, leaders don't go on that path. They go to the darkest point of the forest and they create their own path. Very, very powerful lines to share with your children. Paint that vision for them. When we do that consistently, when we do that over time, when we have an example that maybe happens in life personally for us, maybe in their school, in athletics, in some other activity they're in, we can come back to that example. And when we do that, what ends up happening is we end up developing leaders. I don't want followers as sons. I know I followed in my life. I followed that common path that most men follow. And then I became a dad, and I was still in that common path. I was sedated by alcohol, by porn, by gambling, by social media, by this just haze that had me walking through life as a fucking zombie. Day in and day out, just trying to get through it. That is no way to live. I knew it for years. I felt that itch on the back of my neck that I could be more, do more, have more, that I had potential that I wasn't tapping into. But by following at an early age, by trying to fit in, I went that common path. I do not want that for my sons. I want them to be leaders. We talk about leadership. We share stories. I'll share 2 examples with you right now that share a couple things that I think are so important when it comes to leadership. I'll give you an example. My oldest son, he was selected as the captain of his football team. Great honor. His teammates said he should be a captain. I pick him up from practice sometimes. Other days, his mother picks him up. One day he was really late getting out of the locker room. Thought he was fixing his hair, getting done up, whatever it might be after practice. So I said to him, hey, is there any way you can hustle up so we can get out here? Right? I was waiting in the truck for about a half an hour. Here's what he said to me. He said, Dad, I'm a captain. I was cleaning the locker room. Okay? That is an amazing thing. What is he showing from a leadership perspective, humility, being humble. I remember in the book Legacy that I've got on the bookshelf behind me about the All Black rugby team, New Zealand rugby team. They said sweeping the sheds. Even their best players are humble enough. Even their captains, their leaders are humble enough to sweep the sheds. That was a great example my oldest son put into practice. I shared that story with him years ago. Here he was cleaning the locker room. I reinforced how proud I was of him for doing that. That's leadership, being humble, to do what is required, to be humble, put the ego aside, to always be learning, always giving more. Those are incredible characteristics and values and virtues to have as a leader. Are you raising your children that way? Are you doing that as a dad? Put the ego aside. We can always learn more. We can always be better fathers. We can always be better men, better husbands, better human beings. I play at a very high level, day in and day out. But I'm always humble in that I can learn more, that I'll never be a finished product, that I'm always going towards that North Star. It's not a place where I'm going to get. It just guides me in that journey of getting better. So being humble, having humility, cleaning the locker room, sweeping the sheds like the All Blacks rugby team, incredibly important from a leadership perspective. Use that in your life. I give you these examples that I live. So maybe it opens up a conversation channel between you and your son and daughter. That's what it's about. So that was the first example. Second example, again, my oldest son, captain of the team. They had to do a ton of PT this past week, right? Up, down, sprints, all of these things. They did more PT in one practice than they had done all year. And I asked my son, why was that? He said, well, we got in trouble. Guess they went to Applebee's as a team. I know he did, but a couple kids puked in the bathroom. And then apparently at the pep rally, the main infraction was somebody said something, or one of the cheer moms overheard something that was said about the cheerleaders. So they had to pay the price through physical training. In addition, the coach said, you need to write a letter to all the cheerleaders and the cheer moms apologizing. My oldest son said, I'll write the letter. That night, he was writing the letter out with my wife. He was the first name that was signed on that letter. One, I was just incredibly proud that he did that. Two, I wanted to positively reinforce that he was being a leader. And here's the second piece that I love about leadership: extreme ownership, Jocko Willink style. If you haven't read that book, definitely check it out. One of my favorites. Leaders, you have extreme ownership of what's going on. Even if you don't want to, you need to step up and lead. And I wrote him a note the day after he did the letter saying how proud I was of his leadership. And then I reinforced it later in the day. My wife and I came and talked to him. We put away the cell phones, got away from tech, and I shared how proud I was of him. And he said, Dad, I didn't really want to do it, but that's what leaders do, is they step up. I said, amen. Way to go. I'm so happy you pushed through not wanting to do it and stepping up to be a leader for your team. So important. A couple examples of what to do. If you're struggling with developing those leadership qualities in your kids, you need to do it yourself and share your experiences and what you're doing through personal growth. That's so important as we lead our kids. We can tell them something, but many times that comes over as the nagging, I'm going to tell you, Dad. What about show them first? Right? More is absorbed by watching us do these leadership things versus telling our kids how to do it. Humility, extreme ownership, those are powerful tools. So I'll ask you again, are you developing leaders or followers? That's a powerful question to ask yourself as a dad. Put away the cell phone after this episode and truly take 5, 10, 15 minutes and think about it. Think about that vision, that future that your kids are going to have. Do you want them to follow the pack, the herd? Or do you want to have them blaze their own trail? That'll cause you some intentionality in parenting, being that dad. And you don't need to do it all at once, but start sharing examples. Start sharing your journey as a father. Being transparent, being vulnerable. That's so important for us to do as dads. You start doing that, your kids will develop into those leaders that you truly want for their future. And that's our duty as dads, right? To pay it forward to that next generation. Make sure they're set up with every strategy, tool, tactic that they can have in life. That's what we talk about. That's what I teach and guide dads in the Warrior Dad Experience about. So important. Are you raising leaders or followers? Take some time, dive into that. If you want more information on the Warrior Dad Experience, go out to thewarriordad.com. Grab a time with me. Love talking to fellow growth-minded, family-focused dads. Dare to be uncommon. Love lead legacy. Create a legendary day. And I'll talk to you soon.